just you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Perfect.
Yeah,
That's like my signature drink to put on. I'm sorry. I mean, like, I don't know, but throughout every interview, I've been having this water bottle.
Oh, that's amazing. Now you're like
Let's
consistency.
run Fire Emblem, and then you do Makoto Persona 5.
Yeah. Are we good to go?
Yes.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the California Conventions blog interview video here with Cherami Leigh as the guest of honor. My name is Nate, and on my left is Matt B. Miranda, and on my right is Levi. Last name, I'm sorry.
Not behind the camera since Nate decided to forget about it.
All right, let's get things started here with our questions here. So first off, you started your voice acting almost 15 years ago in titles like Peach Girl, Bakano, for example.
Yeah.
And now you're in titles like Komi Can't Communicate and Yakuza Guide to Babysitting.
Yeah.
How has the dubbing industry in your eyes have changed over the last decade and a half?
I mean, the titles of the shows have definitely gotten longer. That's the joke that we've all had. We're like, we used to have just one title. We had like Bamboo Blade or Kaze no Stigma or Ghost Hunt, and now they're like, here's 8 words and we gotta have an acronym for this title. So that's one thing that's changed. But what's really changed from what I have seen is not only the diversity of the actors that are being cast in the shows, not just background and heritage representation as far as everybody's, we've got a bunch of communities represented, which is great. But I've also seen as behind the scenes, like the positions of power, the directors, the writers, there's a lot more representation, therefore a lot more diverse voices, which I think is such an asset, and it helps elevate the shows because then the audiences watching it feel like they can see themselves and see the characters in a different light, which is really, really great. So that's been really fun. And also, when I was young watching anime, it was not mainstream. It kind of felt like Fight Club. You had an anime club and it was like, oh, it's down the corner and to the left, and nobody talked about it. And now it's everywhere. You walk through the mall and there's anime represented not just in 1 or 2 stores or a kiosk, but everywhere. And huge brands are doing collabs with anime. So the accessibility to anime is a lot easier now. I feel like I'm seeing more families at conventions, and seeing a wider range of people that like to come to conventions, like to cosplay, and that's great because I've always loved about anime conventions and the anime scene in general is how accepting everybody is and how loving everybody is. So if we can make this more open for everybody and more global, then maybe theoretically that great accepting energy will be a global situation, which would be great.
I think at the moment that the fact that anime has just become so, well, from small to big, now it's just absolutely a mainstream thing. So I thought that was great.
It's exciting.
So we're currently in the middle of the Sword Art Online 10th anniversary celebration. Looking back when you first originally cast as Asuna for the original SAO, all the way back like what, 2012. That's a long time ago. How does it feel to have this amount of longevity with this particular character in a franchise that's gained popularity over the years?
Yeah, I never would have thought when I started acting when I was 5 that I would get to play a character for over 10 years, or that when I started doing anime that I would get to work with a character that would do not just seasons of a show but then movies and get to see it in theaters. And that I've gotten to do it more than once with multiple shows is like winning the lottery multiple times. But with Sword Art, it was the first show that I worked on when I moved to Los Angeles. I became really good friends with Bryce Papenbrook, who voices Kirito, and to watch his kids grow up, I've become really good friends with his wife. It's brought so much to my life, not just as an actor, but I think it's helped me grow as a human being. I got married when I was working on the first season, so there's been a lot of parallels. She's helped me grieve the loss of loved ones with the Mother's Rosario arc, and I feel like as much as we've seen Asuna grow, I've grown right along with her. And then I've gotten to meet these fans that have grown along with the characters and said, I started watching the show when I was 10, this is the first show that I've seen in anime, and this is my girlfriend, I got her into anime. And so it's really cool to get to grow with the character and then grow with the audience, and I'm so grateful for the gift.
Speaking of the movies, the second Perkins movie is already out in Japan. So have you been contacted yet to work on the dub for said movie?
I don't know what I'm allowed to reveal and what I'm not allowed to reveal. I always say, like, I hope we'll get to work on it. And then I saw somebody this weekend that said, like, it says it's coming out in December. So I don't know. I haven't been told when it's coming out. I don't know. So hopefully I'll get to work on it. I'm always excited anytime they let me know. I found out we were going to be doing a dub for Progressive Part 1. They kept saying, of course we're going to do a dub. And for Part 1, they announced, like, it's going to be coming out in October in theaters. And I was like, am I doing it? And the call came, like, the next day. They're like, so you're going to be in studio. We're starting next week. So it'll be really exciting whenever that all happens.
Another question is, as you're probably aware, in the lore of SAO, we are in the month that marks the actual release of the game and the Nerve Gear headset.
Yep.
So I think the most obvious question is, if the game and the headset were real, would you play with it on day? Would you play it day one?
Absolutely not. I'm way too superstitious for that. I think it was last week was the official day, or sometime last week, and so I texted everybody that has worked on the show, and I was like, stay inside, don't play any. I was like, I love you all too much. Don't risk it.
Don't touch the
don't touch the headset. Because, you know, I was like, guys, we worked on the show. It's just tempting the fates. And I think Bryce's response back was like, I'll see you on the other side. Like, man. He's been from the beginning saying, like, they would say, if this was real, would you try it? He's like, oh yeah, I'll test it out. And I'm like, no. I'll have to go jump in to save him, I guess.
Bryce now. That's not fun.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna lose Bryce now? No, I don't want that.
All right. You were Red Blood Cell in the Cells at Work franchise.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that the show is as accurate and relevant in today's climate?
I was stoked to get to work on that. I had a very funny situation right as I got cast in the show and couldn't say I was working on it. We were standing in line for Black Friday at Half Price Books because I wanted to get a $5 gift card to go buy books. And this family in front of us, they had like a 6-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. And we were talking about anime because they were reading manga in the Black Friday line. And they said the show that we like our kids to watch is Cells at Work. And I was like, say anything. And I said, they said, we've been watching it in Japanese and we're excited for the dub. And they said they were science teachers. And that's why that was the first anime that they showed their kids, is because they're like, it's scientifically accurate. It's really great. And I've watched the YouTube videos where the, doctors watch TV shows and comment and they're like, this is more accurate than any of the doctor shows that I've seen. And I was like, I'm so proud. We had a doctor that would watch all of our episodes and say, like, you guys pronounced this wrong, or the way this was phrased, it's not, I don't know who the doctor was, we just referred to them as Dr. Anaplex, and we would apply their notes accordingly. But it was very, very fun to get to be a part of that. It's one of my favorite shows to get to watch, too.
Very cool.
Awesome. All right, so you voiced Iris Kennery in Violet Evergarden, yeah. So given the line of work that she did as an auto memory doll, do you think you can do the same work as she did in the series?
I might be able to handle the memory aspect of it, but the emotional things that she had to deal with, I don't think that I would be able to do that and still be able to do my job. Like, I might be able to remember the letter, but then when paired with all of the emotional stuff, I would just be an emotional wreck and just cry, and they'd be like, you had one job. So I don't think I could do the two together.
So you were a female V in Cyberpunk 2077. Given the 3 routes a player can take, Corpo, Street Kid, or Nomad, how did you approach voicing V for each of the different routes?
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me to pick what my favorite one was, and I was like, these are tough questions. I can't pick a favorite. Well, what's been so fun and so interesting about voicing female V is the amount of dialogue that we have and how much this game allows you to branch and make choices. It was such a fine line that we had to walk by trying to make each character distinct, but also being able to track with any of the other options that they had. So there are some that are specifically for the Street Kid, specifically for the Nomad, specifically for Corpo, but then those can change and veer off if you make different choices. So we kind of had to make slight changes if there was a reference of, so this one is Corpo, this is Street Kid, this is Nomad. Obviously for a Street Kid, there's going to be a little bit more of an edgier, I don't want to say less highly educated, but there's going to be a difference if you're working in a very high corporate environment with a lot of money and a lot of stakes, and you've got to be able to talk to a lot of people that speak a lot of different languages, or if you're like living in this hometown that you've grown up with your whole life and you know these people and you've got all these deals and these gangs that you have to interact with, or if you're a nomad and you can choose to either have a family or you could choose to like take it solo. So just kind of those differentiations would tell me how this person might come to take this lifestyle, how that might change the way that I speak. But we had to walk a fine line because there would always come back to some points that if we had made too much of a deviation, it wouldn't make sense when we had to come back to that tree to get you back on track for the story.
Definitely. Have you seen the anime?
I have. I've seen a couple episodes. I haven't seen it all the way through, but it's so good.
It's so good.
I'm such a fan of the cast, and I'm such a fan of Studio Trigger. So somebody edited moments from the game and moments from the anime together, and it was such a beautiful trailer. But I've seen about 5 episodes in.
Ooh,
and
episode 6 is the best.
Oh, okay. I'm so excited.
Just get yourself ready for it now.
Close to being done.
It's the best.
Okay.
And episode 6 is peak.
All right, sweet. I'm excited.
All right, so your boy's a very significant character in the hit video game Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yes.
Yeah, so spoilers to those who don't play the game. She's Lady Rhea, by the way.
Yes.
She may be the nice woman who runs the church, but boy, things turn for the worse if you continue the game. So how was it like voicing someone like her?
It was really fun. I love voicing Rhea, and I did not know when they told me about the character. They told me about her backstory. They told me about what happened with her mother and what she wants to do, what her objective is. They didn't tell me how she could be perceived by other characters, nor did they tell me how the players might respond to her. So when the game came out and I started seeing responses on Twitter where they're like, I hate Rhea, I was like, how dare you? Do you know what she's been through? And then when I played certain paths in the game, I was like, this is massively misrepresenting the Rhea that I was told about. So I totally saw where everybody was coming from, but I love her very much, and I really love the character. I think they did a great job creating her. And people say, do you like voicing nice Rhea, or do you like voicing what they call dark Rhea? And I was like,
dark
the
Rhea.
tortured dark Rhea is my fave. Like, it's
awesome.
it's very fun to get to do. And you kind of get to see why she would make some of the dark choices that she does because of her pain and like wanting to do the right thing and being so broken. And I can't help but want to give her a hug after that.
Of course,
It's so hard.
It was a really good story. Playing through
Absolutely.
Three Houses was amazing.
So my final 2 pair of questions involve you playing Makoto Nijima from Persona 5. And you were through all of it. So you were through the original, Royal, and Dickinson, even the anime adaptation.
Yeah.
So my first question is, what was your approach to was your approach to voicing her same throughout, or was there different variations depending on what you were doing, compared to, like, let's say, like the base game, the anime, the rhythm game, the action game?
Sure.
Was there a different approach to Makoto in any of those iterations, or was that almost all the same?
Well, I mean, there's a different approach when we start the game because I don't know Makoto yet, and she doesn't know who she's going to become. So obviously, when we started the game, there's a different approach to her not knowing about the Phantom Thieves and what she was going to become over time. So obviously that's going to feel a little bit different. But yeah, there are logistical differences, like with the anime versus a fighting game versus a dancing game. One's going to be a little bit more fun and a little bit more upbeat, and one's going to be a little bit sharper and quicker at the way that we have to get the fighting reactions out and the lines out just because of the pace of the game versus a story game when we've got a little bit more time to breathe. But a lot of that comes from the adaptation and the writers and the director and the producers in the room kind of guiding. Pace needs to be a little bit quicker. But as far as Makoto's decisions and her choices and why she does what she does, that always stays the same.
And so when we talk about the Persona franchise and how characters interact with other characters, she's unique that not only you interact with the Phantom Thieves, but you also interact with the older sister named Sei, first in the series if you really think about it. So what's your approach when you perform her voice lines between talking to someone you might consider as like a friend and someone you consider as like a family?
Well, for me, it's just thinking about from an actor's perspective, and that's what's important about all these characters. Yes, it's in a video game, or yes, it's an anime, but they're characters and they're humans first and foremost, and we want it to be real. So how would I talk to my sibling? How somebody that I've known for my entire life, because she's an older sister, and she's really the only family that I have. So there's going to be a little bit more vulnerability. There's going to be a little bit more trust there. Whereas we're still building that trust with the Phantom Thieves as the friendship grows over time.
No, definitely. So where can people find you?
I am on Instagram at CLKStar. I'm on TikTok at Cherami_Leigh. And I'm on Twitter at Cherami Leigh.
Assuming Twitter doesn't last
Exactly.
next week.
Are we saying that now every week? Like, it's the beginning of the week.
Pretty much at this point, every interview that we've had,
They've been always on Twitter.
Everybody's
saying
like,
that.
"Eh."
Am I gonna last long on Twitter? We don't know.
Twitter's existence lies in the balance.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's very true for any video game interview. Like, what a great way that, like, we are living in a real game.
Yeah.
Maybe it is more like SAO than we thought.
Oh no. No. Not this simulation again. Not this again.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is
Yay.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
I'm so happy we did it within the amount of time.
We did it.
Yeah.
So here are
Perfect.
business cards information.
Oh, perfect. Thank you
Yeah,
so
so
much.
we'll post that on our social media.
Okay, amazing. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.